gardeners, so today we're going to be talking all about enrichment for reptiles. So a lot of people aren't aware of what that really means. So the word enrichment literally means the action of improving or enhancing the quality or value of something. So when this comes to keeping reptiles, this basically means to make their quality of life better through their living situations, because we are the ones that are creating their habitats for them and giving them everything that they have. So it's basically just enriching their lives and giving them a better environment to live in that gives them a better life. So when it comes to enrichment for reptiles, the best thing to do is literally think as if you are a reptile and what their natural environments really are. The more naturalistic you can go, the more enriching it will be for your reptile. So for me, when it comes to enrichment, I like to think about the animal's senses. So one of the main senses that reptiles have is obviously to feel and touch things. So when it comes to enrichment in an enclosure, giving them different surfaces and different things to feel is a form of enrichment. You can do this by supplying different types of plants, whether it's live or fake, just things that have different textures on it. Cork bark is a great way to add enrichment to any enclosure just because it's such a different type of a feel. Substrates are another way. You can do so many different things depending on what type of reptile you're keeping. But basically just think about the texture of every single thing that you're putting in your enclosure and try to mix it up and add as much variety as you possibly can, because it's just going to be that much more enriching for your animal. Some things that I use within my enclosures to add enrichment for the feel factor is basically cork bark, different types of substrate. Moss is a great way to add a different type of texture or feel. Again, live plants or fake plants, it can be pretty much anything. Just want to be paying attention to the way that these different things feel and how that will feel for your animal. And if you're keeping snakes, it's very important to make sure that you do have some type of rough things in there as well, because obviously they're going to be shedding, and if they can have something a little bit rougher to rub themselves on, it's going to help them be able to get their shed off as well. I don't know why I just said that was only for snakes, because that's literally for like every reptile, because they all shed. So it's very important to add that to any reptile enclosure. Another way to add enrichment to your reptile's enclosure is to focus on the sense of smell. So these animals do have a Jacobson's organ that they use to basically taste their environment, and they do smell different things as well. So a way to add enrichment to an enclosure with smell is, again, adding different things within the enclosure, whether it's plants, different types of substrate, cork bark. All of these things are also going to have new smells for them. And if you put a reptile within a new enclosure that they're not aware of, that's something that's completely new for them, you're going to see that the very first thing that they're doing is scoping out the entire thing and smelling everything, just because it's so new for them and they're trying to figure it out. So it's just a way to give them something to think about, something to do, something to explore, rather than keeping them in like an enclosure that just has nothing going on and it's just extremely boring. Because some people do keep animals in like tubs with just like a paper towel and a water bowl, and I honestly just think that's like a prison, because I mean, a person can live in an environment like that, but they're going to go crazy, and it's just not good for their overall mental health. And it's the same way for reptiles as well, because they do need a little bit of mental stimulation, and that's what enrichment is all about. And that brings me to my third point, because reptiles do need some type of things to think about, something to challenge them, something to keep them active as if they're in their normal habitat in the wild. So my third point for enrichment is all about giving them some form of activity. The different types of activities for reptiles to keep them nice and healthy and enrich their quality of life are giving them things to climb on, depending on what type of animal you're keeping. Obviously, a lot of reptiles like to hide, so giving them those hides is also going to give them things to think about. They can come out and explore when they want to. They can also hide when they want to. Another great thing for enriching their lives in captivity is allowing them space and activity when it comes to hunting. So a lot of people keep monitors, and monitors are really intelligent animals that love to problem solve. So sometimes it's best not to only be tongue feeding your animals, but to give them some type of activity, so that way they can hunt and use their brains and just some mental stimulation while they're in captivity. So that way it's very similar to the things that they would do when they're in the wild. You don't want your reptile to be bored. You want them to be able to use their normal primal instincts that they would in the wild. It's going to be great for their overall health, and it's a great way to enrich their lives in captivity. So just a quick recap, the best way to enrich your animals' lives is to basically just make it as close to their living situation as it would be in the wild in captivity, because obviously you don't want to be keeping just a reptile in a tank with nothing to do, that's bored out of its mind, that doesn't have new things to explore or check out. You want them to be able to act the same way that they would in the wild, as close as you can. So by replicating that, you will be enriching their lives and giving them everything that they should have. Going to lead to a happier and healthier animal overall. And the most important thing to do is basically just do your research on the animal, try to replicate their environments as naturally as you possibly can, and just think of different creative ways to get their minds working, get them to be a little bit more active in their enclosures, and just give them things to do. So I hope that this video was helpful. If you guys have any other tips on enrichment and things to do to add enrichment to enclosures, please leave it in a comment, and I will see you guys in the next one.